Hi everyone, thanks so much for tuning in today. This is Kathy, and I am back with another card for my 2018 holiday card series. And I wanted to take a moment and kind of talk about this card a bit. I had this idea to do a tangled bunch of lights, and then I thought it would be kind of fun to inject a little bit of humor because Christmas happens, as it mentions down here on the bottom. And I thought it would be fun to turn it into a gift card holder with coffee helps, and the little pocket holds a gift card. I don't have a Starbucks gift card at the moment, so I used my little grocery store rewards card instead. But that's just a little bit about the card so that you could see it closed and then opened. For this card, I used a whole bunch of stamp sets. I used the Warm Wishes from Honeybee. Mostly, well, this one I just used the Christmas tree for the center of the circle on the coffee cup on the inside of the card. I also used Coffee Break. I also used Fa La La. This really is one of my very favorite sets for Christmas this year. And then I also used Perfect Blend. And in Perfect Blend, this sentiment here reads, "Life happens, coffee helps." I did perform a little bit of surgery. I cut off the life, and I also cut this here so I could have Christmas happens on the front and coffee helps inside the card. Now, to come up with this card, I did have to do a little sketch, and I'm warning in advance, it is a hot mess. But in order to get my little tangled lights, I wanted to kind of sketch it out first and figure out which ones had to go on top so I would know which ones I would need to mask. So in the video, there is a lot of masking that goes on, and I have sped it up quite a bit. Just because it is repetitive motion, and I thought that that would be a little less painful to watch as long as I sped it up quite a bit. So there's a few that I do in sort of sped up speed, and then I speed it up really fast. I also go through how I made the little gift card holder on the inside. So let's get started. For the Christmas bulbs, I stamped them in My Favorite Things Extreme Black Hybrid ink onto a piece of Nina 80-pound solar white cardstock. I filled in the Christmas bulbs with cement gray hybrid ink, also by My Favorite Things. And the colors that I used are the same that I used in my previous video. So I used Memento Love Letter, Morocco, Dandelion, and Bahama Blue. For the green, I used Clover Adirondack ink. I'll be sure to have everything listed below in the description as well as over on my blog, and I'll make sure to have a link to the blog post as well. In the meantime, here's a little bit of Christmas music for you while I finish up all of the stamping. Okay, so with those Christmas bulbs, I did do a double stamp just to get those colors nice and vibrant. And there were a few that I stamped a tad bit off kilter. So I just went in with Copic marker to fill in the area that I missed. The green was G05 and the blue was B06. And I had kind of sketched out a line for the cord, and I did it really lightly in pencil just so I would have something to follow, and went over it with a fine tip pen. Once I was done with that, and I thought the fine tip pen was a little bit too fine of a tip, so I went in with another pen that had a little bit thicker tip on it, just to make it a little bit more obvious that there is a cord that's all tangled around all of those Christmas lights. Once I was done with that, I started to stamp out the coffee cup for the inside of the card. I did do some paper piecing for that. So I stamped it onto a piece of white cardstock, and I left that in my stamp platform so I could get the Christmas tree in the center of that circle. Then I stamped it onto a piece of patterned cardstock, and then finally onto a piece of craft cardstock. After I had the coffee cup stamped enough times, I went back in and I colored in the Christmas tree with a G05 Copic marker. And after the fact, I decided to color in the white behind the Christmas tree, just in that circle, and I used a BG quadruple 0. And I added a little bit of tinsel on the tree using a Stardust Jelly Roll pen. For the little gift card holder, it's just a piece of cardstock that measures 2.5 by 4.5, and I scored in 1/2 inch on either side and then along the bottom. After creasing the score lines really well, I took a pair of scissors and just cut out the bottom corners there. There's a spot where the score lines intersect, and you just cut those little squares out. And then I like to cut a little bit of an angle off the edges there. It makes it fold a little bit easier. It makes it a cleaner line so it doesn't get chunky and rough in the corners. And then I used a word window punch from Stampin' Up. I don't know if it's available or not, but you don't have to use that type of punch per se. You could use a circle punch and just cut a half of a circle or a square. You could even use a craft knife for that. It's just so that the top of the gift card hangs out the top of the pocket there. To put the card together, for the front of the card, I used a tape runner to adhere the Christmas lights down to a piece of red cardstock. I did end up trimming the panel down with the Christmas lights, just so it didn't cover up the whole front of the card, because I wanted some of that patterned paper to show through. The sentiment, I did run it through my die cut machine with a fishtail banner and just trimmed off the excess. Then that was attached to the front of a top folding note card, which is an A2 size, so 4 1/4 by 5.5. For the gift card pocket, I just used my tape runner to adhere that on the inside. The one that I have it's a pretty strong adhesive. That would be my one suggestion when adhering that down, is that you do use a really strong adhesive to hold that in place, because of the extra weight of the gift card that will be added when you slide it in there. To put my coffee cup together, I did use Tombow Multi-Mono liquid glue. Once I had that put together, I kind of play with that as well as the inside sentiment to see where I kind of wanted to have everything placed. The sentiment strip was a tad bit long, so I do end up trimming off just a smidgen off the end there, so it didn't hang out from behind the coffee cup. Just used my tape runner for that, and then used the tape runner for the coffee cup. And insert your little gift card, which again is my grocery store card, and that finishes it up. Thanks so much for tuning in today, and we'll catch you next time.